This is absurdly serious. Hi, I'm Kent and welcome to Turn a Wood Bowl. Today I've got 12 ways that you could get injured, dismembered, or worse at your lathe, and you're not going to want to miss these. Plus, I'm going to have a bonus tip for you at the very end. It's really, really important. I see this one happening a lot, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that as well. So let's dive right in, and I'm going to use a little bit of absurdity to help illustrate each one of these points. Don't bother reading your owner's manual. It's filled with a bunch of gobbledygook, and nobody reads these anyway. Besides, the less you know, the better. Yes, the manual can be really boring. I get that, but it also has some very important information that is specific for your lathe. Not every single lathe is made exactly the same. So there's some features and some things that might be unique to your lathe that isn't common with other lathes. And if you don't know about these, they could turn around and bite you. It's also very important to look through your manual and find where your safety shutoff is as well. You may get in a situation where you might have to reach around the side and smack a button to turn the lathe off, and that might be the only way that you can turn off the lathe. So it's a good thing to know and be prepared for in the event that you need it. Now, hopefully you'll never need to use it, and most of the information in here, yeah, it's pretty boring, but go ahead and read it and just make yourself familiar with your lathe. Set your lathe height to either the highest or the lowest setting. You always want to be either reaching up to turn or bending over to turn. At first, you might not be thinking that the height of your lathe is dangerous by any means, and it's not really over the short haul, but over the long haul, it's going to become a problem for you if you don't have it set right. So what you want to do is you want to take your arms, put them down by your side, and this is the way I do it. Some people do a little bit different method, but put your arms down by your side. The height of your elbow should be at roughly the same height as the center of the headstock of your lathe, and that's probably going to be a really good working height for you. Now, if you're a lot shorter, you may need to build a platform to bring you up to get that elbow at the level of the headstock. But what's going to happen if you find yourself reaching up or bending over on your lathe while you're turning, you're going to start developing sore shoulders and you're going to have back problems. And nobody wants back problems, and there's nothing that's going to keep you away from the lathe longer than having back issues. So we don't want those. So get your lathe height set to the right height, and you should be comfortable every time you're turning. If you're turning for a period of time and you don't feel so good afterwards, if you feel sore or you ache and things like that, then you want to check that height and make sure you've got it set right. Get touchy-feely with your turning. Be sure to reach over the tool rest and touch your turning as you're making it. That way you really know what the final shape is going to be like. No, do not get touchy-feely with your turning. Your hands, your arms, none of your body should be reaching beyond the tool rest while you're turning at any point. Now, again, this comes from the spindle turning. People that spindle turn, you have a small cylinder at a high RPM. You see this often in demonstrations, and I don't know why people do this. It's kind of frustrating. I can get where it saves time, but they will reach over and they will touch a turning. Now, mind you, this is usually a spindle turning, a small turning. Can something get wound in that and pull you in? Yes, it can. But here's the problem. When you're turning bowls, you're dealing with a larger mass and you have things going on that you're not aware of potentially. If you have a crack or a check in that bowl, that becomes a point which can grab very easily. It could cut your hand, it could grab onto a shirt sleeve, things like that. Don't reach over the tool rest and do not put your hand on your turning. There are times when people do really thin turnings with green wet wood and it seems like this is safe and you might be able to get away with it, but just know that you're taking a risk and you could get hurt. So just remember, the tool rest is the no-go line. If you are reaching over that tool rest, even if your bowl gouge is going on a little bit beyond and your fingers are going beyond that tool rest, just know that you might be coming into contact with your bowl and it could cause an injury. So just watch your tool rest and stay behind it. Dress comfortable and fashionable. Don't let anybody tell you what you can or can't wear. And if your shop gets a little chilly, be sure you put on a long sleeve jacket. No, the wood turning shop and being at your lathe is not a place to be fashionable. This is where you're going to wear practical, very functional clothing that's ideally short-sleeved only, that doesn't have any kind of material that's hanging down on the sides. If you've ever seen any of the videos on YouTube of people getting caught in lathes, most of the ones I've seen are metal mills, and they're at a little bit higher RPMs than that, but still, it'll give you an illustration. Don't go watch it because it's kind of horrifying. You do not want to get caught up in your lathe at any point. So you don't want to have any loose clothing on whatsoever. You don't want to have jewelry on or watches either. Now, I've become in the habit of taking this off while I'm turning, as well as my watch, as you know. And I usually pull my hair back like you see it now. I don't leave it down like I had it earlier. So you don't want to have your hair down. You don't want to have jewelry, necklaces, anything like that is hanging that could get caught in the lathe. That's an absolute no-no, and that's a good recipe for a very quick, possibly very painful injury or worse. Don't let anything block your view while you're turning. You don't need an extra piece of plastic between your eyes and your turning, and you especially don't need to also have this and these two together. That's way too much. I stopped wearing a seatbelt years ago. I've never needed one, so what's the point? Your safety glasses and your face shield should not be limiting your vision in any way. If they are, be sure to clean them thoroughly before you turn. The fact that you have the safety glasses and the face shield is super important because we wear both. Now you might be thinking, why wear both? Well, they both do different things. And I know from experience, I've only had to have these on once, and it saved me the one time I had them on. I wear them all of the time, as you know, and it was that one time that I learned so much. Essentially what I had is I had a bowl that came off the lathe, it worked its way up the bowl gouge and came right into my nose, into my face. And what happens is this isn't bulletproof, this isn't designed to protect you 100%. Essentially what it does is it just disperses the energy. So instead of getting hit with the edge of that bowl right into my nose or lower eye, it took that energy and spread it over kind of my whole face. I felt like I got punched actually. And that saved me from a serious injury. On top of the fact, I had my safety glasses on underneath the face shield, which is an absolute must. I see a lot of people not doing this, and it's really dangerous to do that because you want both of that protection. That energy being dispersed by the face shield is nice, and the safety glasses also took some of the impact and protected my eye when I got hit with that. So wear both your safety glasses and your face shield at all times. And don't be like that guy that's out there driving not wearing a seatbelt. Always fight a rough bull plank. Don't let it win. If you don't show it that you're the boss, it will never respect you. You don't want to be fighting a rough bowl blank. Now, rough bowl blanks are usually really hard to turn because they've got air or voids in them as you first start turning them until you get down to that smooth surface. And it's very common to push the bowl gouge into those voids and then get smacked with the next section. And it can create all kinds of vibration and it will wear you out. Now, again, similar to what we talked about earlier with the lathe height, this is not something that you think of immediately when you think of injuries on the lathe. But over time, you're going to throw out your shoulders, mess up your arms, and again, your back can be in peril if you're roughing bowl blanks and you're doing it incorrectly. Now, I've got a video all about how to properly rough bowl blanks, so you want to check that out. But in general, what you want to know is you want to put downforce into the tool rest and shift your body weight so that you're just moving the tool. Don't let the rough bowl blank dictate what you're doing. You're going to want to glide your bowl gouge along and just slice off that top layer without pushing the gouge in towards the bowl. You want to just concentrate on making paths across the tool rest. And that's going to keep you from getting shaken up and having shoulder and back issues when you're roughing out bowls. Never turn your lathe off. There's no need. Every time you stop and restart, it just wastes time, and you've got better things to be doing. Plus, you can get your bowls done way faster if you never turn the lathe off. If you've watched my videos for a while now, you know I don't like using the words always or never very often, but this is one of those that you really want to make a habit. You want to always turn off the lathe whenever you're going to move the tool rest, or if you're going to walk away from the lathe, or if you're going to do anything around the turning that is not cutting or slicing the actual turning. You do not want to take a chance that you could get your clothing caught up in it. You don't want to take a chance that you accidentally move the tool rest in and hit the turning or hit the chuck or cause all kinds of problems. You can actually damage your lathe as well. So get in the habit and always, I know it sounds weird hearing me say that, but always turn off the lathe before you move anything or when you're done with each turning. Protect your hands while you're turning. Wear full-fingered, oversized gloves. These will keep your fingers warm as well if your shop happens to be cold. If you ever turned large pieces of wood or dry brittle wood and you've got splinters that came into your hand, you might be thinking about wearing a glove like this. Well, you don't want to do that, and here's why. The problem with a glove like this is these fingertips are about 2 times as wide as our fingers. And if you were to accidentally start reaching over the tool rest and perhaps the bowl blank is coming around and it's just touching you lightly, you're probably not going to realize that. And then you might reach a little bit farther and a little bit farther, and then all of a sudden, this gets pulled into the lathe and your hand's most likely going to be inside it. So you do not want that. Now, I get a lot of grief for wearing just this little glove, which has the fingers cut out on it. But the important aspect of this glove is the fact that it's relatively snug fitting, and I still have my fingertips exposed where I can touch and I can feel, and if something's coming by my fingertips, I'm going to know it because, well, it's my fingers, I feel it. Where I won't have that with long, full-fingered gloves. Now, this is controversial for some people, and some people just don't like it, and that's fine. If you don't like that, and you're still having problems with hot shavings coming off or splinters going into the side of your hand, it's usually just your left hand. You don't really need both gloves, but the left hand and the side of your left hand is a problem. Now, I had a viewer share this with me, and this is actually a really good idea. Now, I'm using masking tape because for some reason I can't find duct tape. I looked everywhere and I don't know where our duct tape went. I'm actually pretty calm right now for the fact that I don't think there's duct tape in the house, but I've got this masking tape and it'll help illustrate the point. You could just take a piece of masking tape or duct tape. Duct tape's probably going to work a little bit better. It's a little bit thicker. And you can keep it there, and that's going to help deflect some of that the hot shavings or the splinters from injecting themselves into the side of your hand. So that can protect you a little bit too if you don't have a glove with no fingers, or if you're not comfortable wearing a glove, try putting a small piece of tape on the side of your hand while you're turning to protect that hand. Don't bother wearing a respirator while you're turning, sanding, or cleaning your shop. Besides, how else are you going to appreciate the full aroma of each of your turnings? This one's super important, and it's long term. This means that this is a slow, sneaky, evil injury that's sneaking up on you. Wear your respirator. You can turn today, you could probably turn tomorrow, you could probably turn for the next several years not wearing a respirator, and you won't have any issues, or you might not think you have any issues until all of a sudden you do. And once your lungs have enough debris in them from turning, you're going to have problems. So get in the habit of wearing a respirator. Just do it. I know it's not comfortable, it's awkward, and it's not really fun, or it's not very fashionable either, but you want to wear a respirator. You want to wear it when you're turning, you want to wear it when you're sanding, you want to wear it when you're cleaning your shop. You should be wearing it all the time. And one of the things you need to know that is if you're smelling wood If you're smelling your turning, you're inhaling wood fibers. And those really fine fibers that get into our lungs are what's going to cause damage over the long term. So do yourself a huge favor and prevent a lifelong massive injury by wearing a respirator. The uglier the wood, the better. The more cracks, fissions, and loose bark, the better the bowl you're going to make. Okay, this can definitely be controversial because ugly wood is beautiful to me. I think it is, but I need to be really careful when I turn it. What I'm looking for basically are any really large bark enclosures or fissions or big cracks where I don't know if I've got one half of it that's actually connected, say, with a faceplate, and I've got a big crack going here and I've got a section kind of hanging off. I want to be really cautious about that. I want to see how deep that crack goes. Now, if it's just a surface crack, it's going to be no big deal. But if it's a really deep canyon, then there's a chance that section is going to go flying off. And you do not want to get hit with flying debris. This can cause massive injury. So what you want to do is take a small hammer or a mallet and just whack some of those sections and see if that section is going to break off. If it's not going to break off with a mallet or a hammer, then you're probably okay putting it on the lathe. But again, if you get into these big cracks in that, you just want to take your time, stop the turning frequently and check it again, because as you're turning, you might be loosening up that fraction or fracture and making it easier. It might be getting closer to separating. So you can even tap it with a hammer as you're turning it. Stop the lathe and just give it a little tap and see if it's loosening up. If it's still holding, then you should be okay. And be sure to remove any loose bark, because loose bark can go flying and it can cause an injury as well. So just be careful and make sure that you don't have any loose material that can come flying off your blank when you're turning. Always turn as fast as possible. It makes your turnings go much quicker and you get a smoother cut. So always turn your lathe up as fast as possible. Oh man, this one is a big problem. And the reason it's a big problem is a lot of people come to wood bowl turning after they've done some spindle work. Maybe they've turned some pins or something like that. Well, if you got a small diameter pin on your lathe and you're turning it at 3, 4, maybe even 5,000 RPMs, it's no big deal. If it comes off the lathe, it usually just drops. Well, that's a lot different when we're turning a bowl. We're turning a flywheel basically, and the faster we make it, the more dangerous it gets, and the larger the bowl is, the slower it should be turning. Now, I've got a video all about lathe speed, and in that video I'm going to share with you what speed you should be turning if you would like a piece to come off the lathe and go into your face, or if you would like a piece to come off the lathe and go into the ground. So you want to check out that video. For the best seat in the house, always stand directly in front of your turning. This way you can see exactly what's going on. Okay, we obviously don't want to be standing directly in front of our turning at all times. There will be times when we need to stand there while we're turning. We just want to limit those amount of times and make them as seldom as possible. Essentially, the ring around your turning, think of it as like the ring of Saturn. It is essentially the line of fire. That means if that bowl comes apart or it comes off the lathe, it's going to eject itself from the lathe somewhere within that ring. And if you're not standing in it, then you probably won't get hurt. So don't stand in the line of fire. When you're working the bottom of the bowl, you're off to the right side of the line of fire. And sometimes when we're up towards the rim, we're on the left side of the line of fire. Occasionally when we make edge cuts, we're kind of crossing into that line of fire. Just be aware of the fact that you're doing it and get it done and get out of that line of fire as soon as you can, and you're going to be a lot safer that way. I've got one bonus tip for you, and this one's really important. I see this being done a lot, and it's super dangerous, and that is waiting until you've turned the entire exterior of the bowl and the interior of the bowl, and then deciding to go up to the rim of the bowl and figure out how you want to shape that. Maybe you want to change the design of a little bit or make it a little thinner or something. That's a big no-no. You do not want to do that, and the reason for that is the fact that there's very little support inside the bowl, especially if you have a thin-walled bowl. There's very little support for anything touching that rim. And as it turns, it's flexing. Now, we don't see it very well with our eyes, but it's flexing. And if you bring the bowl gouge or even a carbide scraper up to that rim, all of a sudden it's going to catch because it's moving, it's kind of wobbling as it's vibrating because, again, it doesn't have that whole center mass support. And when you bring the tool up to it, it can blow the whole rim apart. And usually it's going to blow apart on the end grain. If you think about an end grain section, you get a catch on that, it's going to rip it completely out. And it usually doesn't come out in a nice, smooth shape that's very safe. It usually comes out in the shape of like a triangle. Don't ask me how I know this, but it comes out like a shape of a triangle with sharp edges. So that little sharp edge piece can go flying right back at you, and it's super dangerous. So be sure to do all of your rim work before you remove any of the inside of the bowl. That way you don't have to worry about it, and that's when you have the most support with the interior of the bowl intact. So get that rim finished, leave it, don't go back to it, don't be tempted. I know I remember those days. It's really tempting to think, oh, I could just go back up there and touch that up a little bit, but no, you're probably going to ruin your bowl at best and or hurt yourself at worst. So don't touch that rim. So there you have it. There are 12 plus a bonus ways that you really want to be safe when you're at your lathe. Now, I don't want to scare anyone. I just want you to be aware that if you do things a certain way, you're going to be a lot safer than if you don't do them a certain way. And that's why I tried to illustrate these a little bit here today so that you guys understand safe ways to operate your lathe and yourself while you're turning to be as safe as possible. Now, I'm sure you guys have some additional things you would like to add, so do me a favor and leave those in the comments below. And while you're down there, yeah, click that like button and subscribe if you're not already subscribing. Be sure to check out my website, turnatwoodbowl.com. Over there, I've got everything you're going to need to know about turning bowls. Yep, you got it. And I have online courses that you can start right now. So check it out, turnatwoodbowl.com. All right, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, happy turning.